What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another Friday, another episode of Why Are We Bullish? We've got an awesome panel here to get bullish on a Friday evening. I hope you're all having an awesome week. I hope our audience is still of sufficient size, given that half of the world is now bricked or whatever the hell is going on. Seems like an exciting Friday. But Bitcoin still running. We can smile about that. Of course, this is live. Anything can happen. So I defer to my friend Bill here.
Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
If you have not already, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things. They help a ton getting this content in front of my eyeballs. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
Before we bring in our guests, let's take a quick look at where we are in the market. We're going to be taking a peek at timechaincalendar.com. I'm pulling it up right now. And simultaneously, I'm going to be pulling up the live chat. Everything you say into the chat from here on in will be live for the world to see, for better or worse. And off we are. So we're sitting at 6,000. Geez, cannot get it out today. I'm distracted because before it was like 6969, and a missed opportunity. Should have started the show earlier. Anyways, we're at $66,994 per coin. A single US dollar will grab you 1,493 sats. In terms of fees, next block 7 sats per byte, and in terms of Bitcoin mined, 19.72 million of them. That's 93.94% of the total supply. We're going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, and then we will be right back with our panel. See you guys in a sec. Mission to enable independence by being one of the easiest and quickest ways to purchase Bitcoin in Canada and the US. And the best part about it, every buy goes directly into your own self-custody. They never hold your coins. You can add a Bitcoin address as part of onboarding. There's a transparent 1% spread, no hidden fees, no withdrawal fees. Plus they have KYC free sells and bill payments on their website. They're also a publicly traded company under the ticker BTCW on the TSXV. Check them out over at bitcoinwell.com. Check out my full tutorial on how to use them, and you can check out the links in the show notes down below and sign up today. As some of the best hardware on the market today to secure your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and is my daily driver. And on top of this, they have plenty of other goodies, including the Mark IV, the Tap Signer, Open Dimes, the Block Clock, and much more. If you head over to their website, make sure you use code BTC Sessions at checkout to get a nice discount. Links are in the show notes down below. All right, we are back in, and it's time to introduce you to our panel. I want to welcome to the stage TC, the man, the myth, the legend behind Time Chain Calendar. We're also going to bring up an excellent Bitcoin artist. I hope I say this right, Asanoha. I believe that's correct, but you can correct me in a moment. And of course, Mr. Alex Thorn, thank you everybody for being here. Let's take a moment and go round robin and give ourselves a quick intro. Who are you? What do you do? And TC, I'm going to start with you. Welcome back to the show, man. Glad to have you. Can you give yourself a quick introduction?
Yes, thanks for having me back, Ben. I think this is my third time. I'm honored to be here once again. I am TC. I'm a software developer. I am a Bitcoiner. I've been in Bitcoin for quite a while. And in the last couple of years, I built timechaincalendar.com, and it is my primary focus these days. It's a project I work on every day, and it is a website, a tool, an app that you can use to see where Bitcoin is at, exactly like Ben just demonstrated at the top of the show. So that is me.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm happy to have you back, man. And let's drop down to our next couple of guests here, brand newbies to the show. Asanoha. Am I saying that correctly, by the way?
It's Asanoha.
Asanoha. Okay. Dude, welcome to the show. Please give yourself an intro.
Thanks for having me on here. This is really exciting. I feel like I finally made it. I'm a Bitcoin artist. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I make physical Bitcoin artwork, and I also I help with the simplest Bitcoin book ever written. My good friend Kisa wrote that book, so I help promote that book. It's an excellent book. You can get a free PDF version at thesimplestbitcoinbook.net. And I'm also the art director for Bitcoin trading cards. You may have heard of Bitcoin trading cards, the world's first official physical Bitcoin only trading card project. And then I make my own physical artwork here. So yeah.
I love it, man. And congrats. You're going to be showing off some of your stuff soon. And again, the stuff that you make is incredible. So if anybody hasn't, please do check out Asanoha's awesome stuff. I'm sure we'll touch on it coming up soon. But before we do, I want to also give Mr. Alex Thorn a chance to introduce himself. So Alex, welcome to the show. Can you give yourself an intro?
Yeah. Hey, Ben. Hey, Asanoha. Hey, TC. Great to be here. I mean, I've watched Why We're Bullish a number of times, and I honestly, I'm not sure I can be bullish enough considering all the stuff I've seen. I need to be. I am incredibly bullish, but so I'm head of research at Galaxy. I used to work at Fidelity for my entire career before that. Worked on the Bitcoin custody stuff. I worked on Bitcoin research and did VC. Now I'm head of research at Galaxy. We're a big Bitcoin miner and VC and trading company.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I'm glad to have you, and I'm glad to hear how bullish you are. And that's what we're here to do. So we're going to dive right into it. First off, everybody in the chat, thank you for being here. Keep those messages coming. Yellow, it's good to hear that you're doing well. Thanks for being here too, buddy. But we're going to dive right in. Anybody unfamiliar, this is Why Are We Bullish? Simple concept to the show. Each one of us has come with a reason why we are bullish in and around Bitcoin. And that can take many forms. It could be a personal experience, a video that we watched, an article that we read, a new app or device we've tried, or maybe a current event that has recently happened. Either way, the flow of the show is, number one, somebody's going to drop their reason why they're bullish. This is their chance to rant and get whatever excitedness they have off their chest. Number two, all together, we're going to riff on that reason, comments, questions, whatever rabbit holes we decide to go down. And number three, finally, we're going to rotate to the next person until we've all had a turn. So reason, riff, rotate, and we're good to go. So with that, I'm going to get started with my reason for being bullish to kick us off here. And what I want to chat about is something in and around a new development in Nostr. And so I'm going to bring up this window that I have here. And this is something relatively new. So this is from Pablo. He's doing some awesome work in and around Nostr. And this is a recent post from him. He said, the money is in the Nostr. And so what does he mean by this? So if you're familiar with Nostr, or if you're not, effectively a censorship resistant way of posting stuff online, notes and other stuff. And it's basically, you can have a quasi Twitter clone, you can have things like blog posts, and you can have much more than that, but we'll just kind of leave it at that for now. But it's also uniquely positioned to integrate things like Lightning Network and peer-to-peer payments within Nostr. And a lot of Nostr clients either have plugins or natively have Bitcoin Lightning wallets built into them, which is super cool because rather than liking posts, you can zap them. You can send a small Bitcoin transaction. And so what he's done here is typically your Bitcoin wallet and your Nostr client, they're not necessarily explicitly linked, or AKA, let's say you were using a Nostr app called Primal, and you can easily migrate from Primal to Iris to Snort to all these different clients where you can have the same connections, see your history of posts, see the same people that you've been following in the exact same feed. So that part travels between clients. But what hasn't yet has been if you have a Bitcoin wallet associated with a particular client. And this is what Pablo has fixed, I suppose. So he said, create a new NPub and do nothing else. No need for Wallet of Satoshi, no need for Nostr Wallet Connect pairing, absolutely nothing. Instantly receive zaps, send zaps, and most importantly, access your wallet from any client on any device. And these zaps are verifiable, way faster. They are immediate since the sending of the eCash is the zap instead of waiting for a Lightning node to maybe publish the zap receipt. And just like our contact list follow us around, just like our profile data and our shit posts pop up on any Nostr application, so do our sats. The money is in the Nostr. And he did a little video here as well. But the point being that he's utilizing an eCash system, cashew on top of Bitcoin in order to pair your private key for Nostr as the private key that also owns the eCash, the SAT denominated eCash, which I think is really cool. Again, effectively what he's saying here is the private key for your social media profile also becomes the private key for your wallet that you're using on social media. And I quite like that. I think it's really cool. Obviously, there's trade-offs with eCash systems. I'd say, there's always trade-offs depending on what you're going to use. Full self-sovereign stuff, if you're self-hosting it, is going to be a little bit more complex to deal with for your average person. But this could go the way of being some, a pretty decent in terms of privacy alternative to something like a Wallet of Satoshi or a custodial Lightning option. You can move to something that's like a cashew mint that maybe has a long-standing reputation, and you can say, I'd also like that fantastic privacy that comes with it. And I'd also like it to just easily link with my Nostr profile wherever I go, whatever client I use. So I thought this was cool. And this is my reason for being bullish because, again, it just kind of shows that all this tinkering and everything's kind of becoming interoperable and easier to do. You no longer have to say to somebody, try out Lightning, also try out Nostr. Also, here's a tool to link the two together. No, now it's just try one thing and you've got both. And that's pretty cool. So I want to open it up to you guys and get your thoughts in and around this. And if you've been using anything of the like, whether it be Nostr, whether it be if you've tried like the cashew stuff, or if it's all completely new to you, let me know. So anybody who wants to dive in, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, I was thinking about eCash right before this because there's this person I know. Let's just call him Orange, for lack of a better name. And we're going to say this guy actually took some eCash, and he, if you know, eCash is a long string of text, essentially. So you could have any number of sats, and it's represented as a string of text, which means you can transfer it any way that you can transfer text. You could put it into a text message or a DM or an email. And this guy, Orange, I'm doing air quotes, you can't see them, but I'm doing them. He actually took a string of eCash and broke it up into 3 different pieces and transmitted it in the memo field of 3 different bank transfers. So through a bank in the traditional finance system, this character sent some eCash unbeknownst to the bank. And not only that, he took eCash split into 3 pieces, which then could be reassembled by the recipient and redeemed for its value. This is phenomenal. The topic here at large is really just that we have more and more ways to use Bitcoin, more and more ways to transfer Bitcoin denominated value. And eCash absolutely is a good example of something that comes with trade-offs. There's some incredible benefits to it. There's some trade-offs that you give for that. But how bullish is it that we have now this additional way to move around SAT denominated value on top of Lightning and on top of layer 1 Bitcoin? I mean, this is something that some people out there, usually outside of Bitcoin, feel like Bitcoin's sort of dinosaur coin or not much is going on. But if you actually know and you know where to look and you're paying attention, the last year or two has been just an absolute explosion of innovation. And the eCash stuff is one of the really exciting areas where there's just a ton of really cool stuff being done. And I got to say, by the way, Pablo is the man. That guy is an unbelievable monster of developing power. So yeah, I tip my hat to him. Makes me very bullish, Ben.
I love that eCash was transmitted low key through the memo field and in banking transfers. That's fantastic. Again, it speaks to the like come and stop me kind of nature of all this stuff. Like if you can do that and send eCash through the traditional banking system, unbeknownst to them, unhindered, just through like general memos and any other type of communication, good luck shutting this stuff down. So that's awesome. Gents, curious your thoughts as well.
I think eCash is awesome. I've been following Kaye for a little while, and I think it's super, super exciting. I've got the eNuts on my phone, so I've been messing around with that a little bit, and I encourage anybody listening to go to if you got a app, I don't know, is it on Android? I don't know, I have an iPhone. If you go to the App Store and you download eNuts, you can, you got to connect the Mint, which you can look it up. Where would someone look that up, Sessions? It's very easy to do. It's like a few clicks, and you can send Lightning into your eNuts wallet from a Lightning wallet on your phone, and it gives you a ticket and eCash string of text, and you can then send that to anybody. So it's really easy, really fun to mess around with your friends and just see how it works in real time. And I'm super bullish as well on eCash. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's super slick. Like, again, just to give people an idea of how easily you can do this, even within a browser on your mobile device. This is just cashu.me, CASHU.me, and it'll take you here. It'll let you know what a Cashu wallet is. You can download a little file as a backup and just save it if you want to. But nonetheless, I'm going to hit continue to add a mint. It gives you options down below. You can discover what mints people are using right now. A lot of this is still very early. So in terms of reputation, that will be built up over time. But I'll just pick one of the mints, and I'll copy it. Maybe I'll use this mini bits mint here, and I'll just add it there, and I'll just call it mini bits, and I'll add it. There we go. And now my wallet's set up. I can receive a regular Lightning transaction. So maybe I'll send over 100 sats and create an invoice. I'll copy that invoice and I'll send it over from Albi. And then in a moment, I'll have eCash. There we go. I now have eCash in my Cashu wallet, and now I can send eCash, which is instant, zero fee, and near perfectly private, to anybody, anywhere, at any point. So I can send eCash, and maybe I want to send 50 sats. Okay, I'm going to send that. And if anybody has an eCash wallet, you'll be able to redeem that. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to
drop that in the chat.
Yep, there it is.
Nice.
So if anybody has a Cashu wallet, you can copy that, and you can claim those sats. So the text is the money. at this point. So it's a very different concept than Lightning, than Bitcoin. It's that string of text is worth 50 sats. So somebody would need to copy that, paste it into their Cashew wallet. I'm sure, obviously, like this is the same type of thing as looking at a Lightning invoice where people are going like, oh my God, like that's a lot to deal with. But what did we do? We then streamlined with Lightning addresses. We streamlined with, like reusable payment codes and things like that. That stuff will come too. And it's very exciting to see, but there's your quick demo.
Nice demo, Ben.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Do what I can. Now everybody's like, oh, I can't copy the text. Well, oh well, 50 sats lost. Go ahead.
Nothing. I was gonna say I'll post some on Nostr or on my Twitter or somewhere.
Yeah, I can actually. Maybe I'll do that as well. I'll jump on Primal here, and I'm just gonna paste in that Cashew code. All right, so it's on my Nostr now. So anybody on Nostr, somebody's gonna claim it in like a second when they see what it is. So
I'm gonna post a couple on both my Nostr. And I'm not verified on Twitter, so I don't have a long enough thing on Twitter. But if you're following me on Nostr, I'm going to post a couple right now. They'll probably get snagged by somebody else in about 5 seconds. But
yeah, exactly. Well, if anybody's following me on Nostr, 50 sats are up there, so go take them. But Alex, I want to toss it to you and get your thoughts in and around this.
Yeah, I love the idea of eCash. I've never played with it yet. I was talking with Calais in Bedford actually when we were there for Pete's. Peter McCormack's conference in April. So it sounds super cool, but Nostr, and I think it's worth pointing out today with the CrowdStrike outage, which isn't exactly a DNS. A lot of times when like swaths of the internet go down, it's actually an attack on, the 3 DNS servers in like New Hampshire and wherever else that service the East Coast of the US. But very similar. And Nostr can serve a distributed DNS that's basically what it does. So I love the resiliency of Nostr. I still, I just started using Primal instead of Damus, although I like both, but I find Primal to be better. The problem I have with, this is what makes me, not what I'm going to say later about why I'm bullish, but why I love Nostr the most, isn't even for social, it's for distributed like communication networking, because a website that resolves over HTTPS via Nostr nodes, I think, incredibly resilient. Did it work?
Did you get those sats? Are you sharing sats?
I was sharing sats on Nostr.
There we go.
I was just sending. I said I was going to post some some nuts on Nostr, so I just did.
Perfect. Get those.
I'm
nuts.
listening to you.
No, I just mean it. Yeah, aside from the eCash, the resiliency of distributed Nostr is a very powerful distributed network protocol, and the web basically went down for a large portion of the world today. All the airplanes in the United States had to land. So
that's insane.
Very positive on Nostr as more than just notes and other stuff, but data and networking and other stuff as a protocol for that. So amazing to see. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that Cashew's using eNuts is using Nostr now. Yeah,
it's pretty wild. And again, Calais and everybody working on the eCash stuff, I think it's super valuable, and I think again it's just another tool in the tool belt of Bitcoiners to escape from being under the boot of central bankers everywhere. So LFG, I suppose. But with that, I'm going to put a little bow on that topic. Either way, worth checking out. If you haven't played around with the eCash stuff, it's pretty cool. Try it out. And aside from that, if you're not on Nostr, also check that out, because I think the world has yet to grapple with the fact that it exists, let alone Bitcoin. So yeah, very, very cool stuff coming out of this, all these little projects here. But with that, we're going to do a rotation, and I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to toss it over to TC. TC, I'm going to queue you up. You're going to get the same question everybody else gets. Why are you bullish?
Well, I'm still recovering from my bullishness about eCash here. I have to collect myself. I have to light some incense, calm down a little bit, because I'm gonna get a little bit deep on this one. I am bullish because I've realized Bitcoin is a calendar. This is a concept that I've been thinking about actually for a couple years, and it's manifested in my time chain calendar project. But essentially, the idea is that we have these systems of timekeeping as humans, and we've developed calendars over the millennia, and they've constantly changed. But excuse me, but they're attempting to kind of track passage of time. And these systems of timekeeping have really influenced humanity in an extraordinary way because we sort of structure our thinking about reality around them. Meanwhile, here comes Bitcoin. And Bitcoin kind of functions like a calendar in a very unique and different way. One really good example I like to use is that when we have a moment in time that we share as humans, let's say New Year's Eve, we kind of experience it as, oh, here comes the New Year's countdown and the fireworks, but we experience that in waves across the time zones as people's time zone catch up to that so-called moment. So that moment becomes fragmented by the time zones around the world. Meanwhile, a Bitcoin block, think of the halving block, and everybody's watching for when my website's going to crash and the halving block's going to happen. And everyone on the whole globe experiences this moment at the same time. There's something incredibly powerful and meaningful to me about this idea that we have sort of a new timekeeping mechanism in Bitcoin that allows humans to experience these moments in time globally as a global consciousness. And it's kind of a trippy thing to think about. The nature of Bitcoin as a timekeeper is a little weird because we have this sort of immutable past of the time chain of the blocks and where they are, and we have this sort of uncertain future as far as we don't know exactly when the next block's going to happen, and so we don't know when 1,000 blocks or 1,000,000 blocks from now is exactly going to be. So it's a unique kind of timekeeping thing. But the bottom line is I get incredibly bullish when I think of the fact that we have here not only a decentralized monetary system, we have a new timekeeping system. We have a way for humanity to experience things in a synchronized way that we've never had before. And my mind kind of goes wild thinking about the possibilities of what that means for humanity. So to sum it up, I am bullish because Bitcoin is a calendar.
I love that. And I want to tell you why I love that. Bitcoin is a low time preference calendar in that it's not as useful in short periods of time, but over longer periods of time can be quite useful. And the way that I've been using Bitcoin as my own, I guess, kind of like a life calendar, is I gauge my life and my successes in Bitcoin epochs from halving to halving, because you can be disappointed about shit that goes wrong day to day, week to week, month to month, maybe even have a bad year. But if you bust your ass and you work hard, odds are that in that 210,000 blocks, or that, those 210,000 blocks between epochs, you can make meaningful improvement in that period of time. And so this last halving, I looked back at where I was at the previous halving in and around 2020. And, at the time it was a little dicey because I was kind of questioning where I would go next and like what things look like for me. I was on the cusp of questioning whether or not I should go and find a job at another company or if I should just go it alone and just focus solely on the channel. And I decided to focus solely on the channel. 4 years later, it's the best decision I ever made. I get to do what I love every single day, and I'm way better off than I ever was with a job working for somebody else. And so when you measure, again, when you measure over longer time frames, as you know, using Bitcoin as a calendar does for you and requires of you, you start thinking about time differently. So what a great topic. I love that. And I'm curious what the other gents will have to say. So go ahead, guys.
Yeah, I'll go. I love it too. I love that Bitcoin is the blockchain is advanced by the use of energy, which is the force of the universe. And so if you take, what do we have, what do they call, the Augustan calendar? What are we using? The Caesarian calendar? I forget what it's called, but we should have
the Julian calendar.
Thank you. Let's close the Julian calendar. If it was 13 months long, it would fit better. But in any case, there's the predictability and connection to the physical properties of the universe. Also, I think for me makes it feel like a better global, ticking clock to follow. I remember the blocks when my two kids were born. I've thought about it that way since I'm not like, oh man, I got that appointment tomorrow at block height XYZ, but like, major milestones I've followed and thought about what the block height was. Released a rap song with Captain Youth at a block height. So I love it. I love that it's, widely accessible to everyone on Earth. Very easy. I'm just here on mempool.space at the moment. I was going to look up a different date when I got married. I'm not sure what the block height was then. I should know that, but like,
have you tried the date search on Time Chain Calendar?
Let me go. I didn't know I could do. That's exactly what I was looking for.
There you go. Time Chain Calendar.
By the way, I loved Time Chain Calendar at the halving. The whole like animation, like video thing was amazing.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for, by the way. TC.
Here we go. Do you have a date for me? What year was it?
Yeah, put in December. Oh yeah, 2016.
You got your married the same year as me.
December 3rd.
December 3rd.
You could put a time in too.
Yeah, let's put in the time. I think it was at 2 p.m. The ceremony.
Right. Let's
put in like 2:30 because I think it was kind of a long ceremony.
Okay, we'll say we'll call it 2:30. Go. What block was that? Time change calendar does its thing. It's checking. All right, block.
Let's go.
441788.
Oh man, $765 Bitcoin.
We asked for Bitcoin donations in lieu of gifts, and I got a couple.
Oh,
nice.
Shit.
So
I was
pretty
just
amazing.
Say, how much did that ceremony cost you? But if you got some Bitcoin gifts,
we might have paid it back. Yeah. Unfortunately we didn't. I only got a couple. Now, I only got a couple, and I used a static QR code receiving address from Coinbase at that time to receive it.
That's awesome.
So
that's fantastic. Look at the sats per dollar. Almost 131,000 sats.
Oh my god.
That's the more striking. Like 765. Like you think of, but Bitcoin's like damn near. It's like 67 right now. But it's you can't quite get 1,500 sats for $1 right now. You could have gotten
$12 billion market cap too.
Unbelievable. We're at 1.5 trillion now.
Yeah. Unreal. This is one of my favorite things again about Time Chain Calendar.
I did not know you had this.
Yeah.
This lookup. That's crazy.
Super cool.
But I love that.
Future too. You can do a date search into the future and it'll estimate the future block.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's amazing. I totally agree. I love the predictability. I also love who's the guy that does the physical like big giant like clocks? Is that Fractal
Encrypt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar like reverence, I think, for the calendar nature of the blockchain.
Yeah, 100%. Asanoha, I want to hear your take here too.
I think the time chain calendar is awesome. I think it's a much more logical, like you said, short term. I feel like there might be some sort of solution to figure out a short term timekeeping system that's connected to Bitcoin. I mean, there's got to be something, But for low time preference, it's definitely, I mean, all of my, I was never super into conventional, traditional holidays to begin with. I don't really celebrate Christmas. I don't, you know, I've never been big on Halloween, whatever. You know, the New Year, like you said, it's kind of all over the place. What is the New Year? I'm always felt more drawn to like the older Celtic calendar. I think some, you know, I think Alex, you had mentioned 13, you know, and so forth. So with the time chain, I'm like, this is great. It's these are the holidays that I care about a lot more now than any other holiday I've ever cared about. Also, the whole like time is money, money is time. I mean, it's kind of perfect, you know, like it ties in really good. And so, yeah, I think it's freaking awesome. I actually have been doing some of mempool dot spaces visualizations and then painting them. This is actually laser cut wood, and then hand painted each of the transactions in there. And
beautiful.
So I've done a couple to kind of like, you know, commemorate certain blocks and so forth. And so I'll have some of these in Nashville on display that are actually made out of printed circuit boards with Modiotech, this German pleb that I've been making some stuff with. But these are pretty cool, yeah. So
that is so cool. Wait, so would you are these just blocks that are like important to you, the ones you picked to do there?
Yeah, well, I've had a couple commissioned that were important to those people. This is Ocean's third block. So this is the first block that they mined that they were able to omit all but one pesky inscription, which is right down there. I didn't color it in. I'm trying to think of a good time and place to auction this one. But at Nashville, I'll have the 4 halving blocks as printed circuit boards. So same idea, but they'll be printed circuit boards instead of laser cut hand painted wood. And then Modiotech and I are working on a Hal Finney block. So it's just a block from the day Hal Finney died, commemorating Hal Finney. And he's actually got a bunch of OGs signing it. And I think we're going to auction that during the ALS fundraiser run in January. And so we'll auction the signed one. All the proceeds from that, I believe, will go to the ALS Foundation. And then we have a couple additions we've made. So we'll sell those. So yeah, but I'm open for commission. If anybody's got a block they want to memorialize, hit me up, shoot me a DM, and we can talk about options. So I'm thinking about doing a digital, like a giclée print version that's a little bit more affordable, because the hand painted ones are of course a little pricier, and then the PCB boards also I've got to charge a bit more for them. But I want to do like giclée prints of any block that you want, and then try and get that price point down so it's actually, you know, just, you know, more within reach for the plebs to, you know, whatever it may be. So yeah.
I've got a future commission for you.
What did you say?
I said, I've got a future commission for you. I already know what it is. In 2 years' time, it'll be the 10-year anniversary of me doing the show. And so I'm gonna look back and see when I published my first video. And but I have one special request, that look, but I need my signature paint splotches just like throwing at the at the piece.
Absolutely. We can definitely do it. Let's do it.
Bitcoin art makes me bullish.
Bitcoin art makes me bullish. I just wanted to say too, I think TC, I don't know, have you been doing it with Torture? TC's got some stuff going on where you can get the blocks from Time Chain Calendar.
Yeah, the memento.
What are those?
We call it a Time Chain Calendar memento. There's a little shop button on the Time Chain Calendar site, and it's on there. It links to his site where you can get it, but you can basically get a custom plaque 3D printed with a particular block of import, proof of birth of your child, proof of marriage, proof of business getting founded. We had one guy who got one that was his first block that he mined as a miner. So kind of cool way to commemorate these special moments.
So if anybody listening wants to commemorate a moment that was important to them, hit me up or hit up TC or get on Time Chain Calendar and hit the shop button and get yourself a little memento there of that block height.
That's great. Proof of birth. That's fantastic. That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, sweet guys. Okay, so again, love that topic. I think it's a lot of fun. We are going to put a bow on that one. We're going to do a rotation, but before we do, I've got to give a quick 1 minute shout out to our remaining sponsors here. So we will be right back in 1 minute. Stick around because I'm also going to be giving away some sats when we get back. So get your lightning wallets ready because we've got some stuff to give away. So I'll see you guys in just a moment here. And lending, instant self-custody, and no KYC, HODLHODL is the place to be. You can sign up with just an email address, and once you're there, you can start browsing offers immediately, whether you're looking to buy and sell, or whether you're looking to lend or borrow. You can check them out today at the links down below. Bitcoin Lightning Wallet built with simplicity in mind. Spend and receive with ease, claim your own Lightning address, shop your favorite gift cards, and even earn rewards when you spend. Head over to speed.app to download the app on your mobile or desktop today and use the link down below to get 5,000 sats for free and have the chance to win even more. All right, we are back in, and before we get into our next reason for being bullish, I want to give away some sats here. We've been doing this on the news show lately, but I'm integrating it because it's fun into the Friday show as well. Anyways, this Bitcoin Well, they're in Canada and the US, and basically the way that they work is as you do things, sign up, buy and sell Bitcoin, refer friends, you get points. And then those points are redeemable as throwing a coin into the well, which potentially gets you anywhere from 500 to 1,000,000 sats. And so you can redeem it with an LN URL accepting Lightning wallet. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to do, I think last time we got 2,100 sats. So we'll see what we get today. I'm going to throw in the well and get those Lightning wallets ready. I'm going to enlarge this so people have the chance to scan it. And there's your 500 sats. Scan away. I'm going to give you guys like, I don't know, 5-10 seconds. Otherwise, you're going to have to scrub back through the video to snag them. But congrats to whoever gets it. And if you do get it, let me know in the chat or on Nostr or on Twitter or wherever you may be. Shoot me a DM or shoot me a message on there and let me know that you snagged the sats. Best of luck to everybody. Awesome. And with that, that's all the time you get, guys. You got to be prepped and ready. But Asanoha, I'm going to toss it to you. We're going to continue the show, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Why are you bullish?
I am bullish for a couple reasons. Number one, I want to say that I am bullish because Kisa of the Simplest Bitcoin Book Ever Written has just finished her second edition of the Simplest Bitcoin Book Ever Written with a whole chapter featuring Nostr. So now it's the Simplest Bitcoin and Nostr book ever written. And you can download the free PDF version at thesimplestbitcoinbook.net. It's published under a Creative Commons license. So if you or anybody you know is working on a project, a Bitcoin education project, reach out to Kisa. I think Bitcoin Ikasi was printing their own versions over there. So yeah, it's an awesome book, and it's great for orange pilling friends and family. It gives you all the basics and has an extensive resource section in the back, which includes legends such as BTC sessions. And so I'm super bullish on that. These books, the second edition, this is one of the first editions. I don't actually have the second edition in print in hand yet, but they will be available for sale in the official conference merch booth at Nashville, Tennessee during the Bitcoin conference. So I'm excited about that. I am also bullish because I will have my seed cipher artwork, which is a way of encrypting a Bitcoin seed phrase into a painting, or I should say using a painting to decrypt a seed phrase off of a custom titanium seed plate that I've made here in collaboration with Stamp Seed. And I'm really excited. It's going to be on auction and on display in Nashville. I'm going to have 21 limited edition serigraph print and plate sets available in the official conference booth merch store at Nashville. So that's super exciting. And yeah, I'm just I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'm bullish on Bitcoin art, and yeah, I'm feeling good.
I love that, man. I'll bring up the a couple websites here as well, just for Kisa was on the show. I want to say a month and a half or 2 months ago. Awesome. Really enjoyed having her, and she's fantastic in all the spaces and everything too. Just such a good educator. What an absolute legend, and what an absolute necessary part of the community to help people kind of level up and learn about Bitcoin. The more educators, the better. And I do have my copy of the simplest Bitcoin book ever written here. I'll have to get the second version, of course. And of course, we got to highlight. This is the right place, right? Sovereignremnant.com. Is that where I should be pointing to?
It is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. And there's all kinds of goodies on here. I love these little guys that you've got. Those are super. So what are these? These are printed circuit board?
Those are printed circuit boards. So that's it's made the same way motherboard or any kind of computer chip is made, with silicon wafer actually, and then a screen printing process. And I believe it's 22 karat gold on there. And so I've been making these with a really cool German pleb named Modio Tech, or who goes by Modio Tech. And so that's the same process, same material that the motherboard of Satoshi's computer was made from, same piece, or but it's the same process. It's the same kind of material that every ASIC chip currently securing our sovereignty is mounted upon, silicon wafer like that, printed circuit board. So it's really kind of cool form of Bitcoin art.
That's really cool. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy all the stuff that you put out, and again, like the prints and everything are fantastic. Again, if you guys are looking around, for sure, check out sovereignremnant.com and check out the simplestbitcoinbook.net, or go check out all of it if you're going to be down in Nashville. Because you'll be able to snag the books and the art live. Again, I've got, you're right. Bitcoin art, bullish as hell. Super stoked about that. Those are here. I'm going to enlarge you here so that people can see what's up. And I'm just going to, there we go. That's fantastic. Oh, that's so cool.
This is a much awaited. I designed this artwork for the cover of Volume 20, Citadel 21. And I finally done a fine art print run of it. So I will have these available for sale on my website. Everything will be on my website, but in the official merch booth as well. So this it looks better in real life than it does on my crappy camera. But I got prints, sticker packs, and pins. So
when you're okay, so I guess I've got a question for you then. Everybody comes at Bitcoin art a different way. And I think in the early days, not blanket, but in the earlier days, if you went back 5-10 years or something like that in Bitcoin's history, Bitcoin art was slap a B on it and be done with it. And it has evolved so much since then. And I think Bitcoin art is becoming its own, almost its own subset of art, in that not all Bitcoin art is actually is actually necessarily Bitcoin related. Like there's a lot of little hidden messages in art often. But what I mean is, I think we're kind of seeing the live play out of low time preference taking hold in the art space with Bitcoin. And what I mean is, people used to be like, there's a Bitcoin B on it, I'm going to buy it. And now, like, try going and standing up against the quality of Bitcoin artists that are hitting the circuits now and trying to sell something like that. And it's just not going to fly, because sats are precious. and you've got to do something really special to convince somebody to separate with their sats. So we're kind of getting this quick trajectory of like really fine art when it comes to Bitcoin that, you know, you kind of, you know, I initially scoffed a little bit when I read the chapter of the Bitcoin Standard where he talks about art, because it is subjective. But also I think there's some truth there where like some dude can just like put red paint on a canvas in like a minute and a half, and then it sells for like 2.5 mil, and you're like, you know, like I feel like we're starting to see like a recognition of craftsmanship and skill in Bitcoin art. But I don't know if you guys echo that.
I would love to jump in right there, because for me, I am falling down a Bitcoin art rabbit hole the last year or two, so much so that I actually built a gallery into Time Chain Calendar. Asanoha's work is in there. Modiotech's work is in there. Fractal Encrypt, who we mentioned before, it's in there. I'll tell you, what you were just talking about, Ben, is so on point, because I see it from the point of view that Bitcoin is this deeply sophisticated, complex topic. We all know that when people first encounter Bitcoin, they have such the wrong idea and they don't understand it at all. And it takes so much time and energy and an open mind and proof of work to actually learn it and understand it. And to me, the Bitcoin art is a very particular method and angle for not only understanding this stuff, but think of what the artists are doing. They're taking in some cases like literal technical aspects of Bitcoin and revealing them to people, putting in front of your eyes, where you're disarmed in the sense that you're viewing a piece of art and you see beauty and you see form, but in there is Bitcoin itself. I mean, look at this man. He's got this like cipher thing behind him, an ode to cryptography. And we saw that piece of art with the transactions in the block. It's like, this is a very special and effective way of teaching people about Bitcoin and spreading these ideas, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin is a bunch of ideas. And that's what it takes to kind of wrap your head around it, is kind of, you know, digest these ideas. Art is kind of like helping you do that in a very particular way. So I find it incredibly important. And the more of these Bitcoin artists that I discover, and the more of this art that I find, I'm experiencing exactly what you were talking about, Ben. Like, this stuff is really incredibly done and really thoughtful, and it's not just slapping a B on it like we would see much more of just, you know, only a few years ago. The whole Bitcoin art world, I feel like, is evolving at lightning speed right now, and it's really incredible to see. If you haven't checked this stuff out, check out the gallery on Time Chain Calendar, come to the conferences and go to these art galleries that are, it's now sort of a regular feature of a lot of these conferences to have these art galleries, because I feel like it's a critical perspective.
Absolutely. Alex, I want to get your take, and then maybe after Alex, you chime in, and any other thoughts. There's a couple other artists that I also wanted to give a shout out to. One, Asanoha, that we were kind of back and forth about on X just before this. But Alex, you go ahead first.
Yeah, well, I wanted to shout out Crypto Graffiti, who I've been buying T-shirts from. I sacked up enough to spend the amount on his amazing physical artwork. I've seen some of it in person. I've had his T-shirts for years. I also want to echo TC and Ben both. You made this point. Like, I mean, I've been buying Bitcoin stuff for years, and it literally was like, oh, someone's got a Bitcoin hat on Etsy, like, you know. And there's still good stuff on there. I don't want to throw too much shade, but like what's her name? Coin Artist. She had that famous cipher hidden in her painting like 7 years ago. It was one of the first people to do something like that. But there was very few true like craftsmen doing stuff. And you know, it one of the main things that I like in the Bitcoin Standard, to sort of echo your point, not even so much about Saifedean's criticism of modern art, which I actually love really weird modern art museums. I really enjoy going to modern art museums, but the low time preference and the architecture, which I think plays into the same thing. You know, you've got people like Brecky literally carving marble, right? I mean, I might buy something with my sats. I can tell you for certain I'm not buying a home made out of, you know, vinyl siding that's going to deteriorate before the mortgage is due, right? But maybe one built out of stone or brick. You know, I'm not going to buy probably not going to buy something that you printed out on a laser printer at home, but maybe something that's made with, you know, a silicon wafer and gold flakes, maybe something carved into wood, right? And that incentive, as especially as Bitcoin value goes up and as, you know, long-term hodlers effectively become wealthier, there's incentive for artists to become even more, to evolve further, right? And I think we've obviously seen that. I mean, it's like there were a couple back in the day. Even Fractal Encrypt, I think, has been around a long time, if I recall. But and so is Crypto Graffiti, and Marguerite Coin Artist was around. But like now, there's dozens. I didn't even know about your stuff, Asanoha, and I'm definitely going to check you out in Nashville. And I love that thing behind you has a seed phrase hidden in it. Is that what you're saying? What's in that thing?
So this is, I'm calling it Seed Cipher. They're arbitrary glyphs. I made them up late one night. And so you've got 12 words on there. So it's just it's 4 characters per word. So you got your truncated seed words, and you only need your first 4 letters from any seed word, just in case anybody on listening doesn't know that. All 2048 seed words can be truncated down to the first 4 letters. That's all you need. So you generate your own seed phrase, and then you assign each of those symbols a letter in the, you know, consecutive order of your seed phrase. So, session SESS, and then so forth. And then you stamp it into the seed plate. Here has those symbols, but they're scrambled up. So you assign your letter to your symbol, and you find the symbol on the seed plate, you stamp it in, but it's all scrambled on here. So if somebody finds this, they can't decrypt the seed phrase from the plate alone, and you actually need the painting to tell you the correct order of the seed phrase. So there sort of is, if Bitcoin is the knowledge of a seed phrase, then yes, the painting is Bitcoin. And I've tested it. I would say it's a provably secure way to actually store Bitcoin. And so this painting and then each of its prints will come with 2 seed plates that you can fit 12 words on each one. So you can do a 24-word seed phrase, and then it comes with a little backup seed plate that's got the same sequencing of the glyphs as the painting, in case, you know, your house burnt down in the painting, or, you know, got stolen or something. What's interesting though is it's user loadable and reloadable. I really like Bitcoin collectibles, but the whole key generation thing is a little bit of it's a total trust issue. So this is cool because you can load as much Bitcoin as you wanted onto a seed plate, use the painting to decrypt the seed plate, hide your seed plate, and then tell friends or whoever you wanted, hey, there's, you know, X amount of Bitcoin. This is, you know, encrypted using this painting. And it's impossible for anybody to get that seed phrase, because it would be the same chance as guessing any 128-bit private key. So
it's really cool. It's like it's a cipher. And I guess, yeah, you can reassign the glyphs later to different letters, right? And theoretically make a new wallet. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Very cool.
That's amazing.
It's clever. In addition to, it looks really beautiful as well. Like, but and that's sort of, I think, emblematic of the. I mean, art is a game of evolution in a lot of ways. If you study, right, like I'm sure you guys probably have, like classic painting, right? You go from, you know, rudimentary to very detailed, to, you know, something like Hieronymus Bosch that's like ludicrously detailed but kind of disproportionate. And you get Impressionism and all this different, like these current, like everybody's sort of evolving the medium over and over again, and it's clearly happening in Bitcoin. Very cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Also know I wanted to give a shout out to that little thread that we're on earlier about another artist, and you're like, oh, have you seen his work before? And actually, yes, I'm going to bring up his website here, but there's a guy He goes by the name of Gareth. Gareth Eckley, I believe, is how you say his last name. Anyways, Gareth, he does some awesome work, and recently in my home city of Calgary in Canada here, we did it was our third iteration of the SAT market, and so what the impetus for that was. It kind of struck me last year where, there was a lot of concern in and around. There was pressures from exchanges to begin flagging any coin join transactions and preventing people from doing certain things. And so that was kind of, people were getting really pissy about it and worrying and getting angry, but I didn't see a whole lot of action there. And to me, the greatest action, the way that you get away from the worries of being able to have on and off ramps, is to not need them anymore and to actually use your Bitcoin and live on a Bitcoin standard and be able to get everything that you need locally with people that you know with Bitcoin. And so nobody here was doing it, so I just did it. And now we have a market. And we've just done our third one. And so, we get all kinds of different stuff at this local market, but it's all Bitcoiners, all people that are accepting Bitcoin for what they do. We made a big effort to get people that are, farmers that would have beef and eggs and dairy and all that kind of stuff. Also, tradesmen, people that can actually build you shit that you actually need or fix stuff when it breaks. So we had plumbers, we had roofers, we had people that could frame houses. We had all kinds of different stuff, barbers, you name it, we got it. But then we also had things like artists. And one of the artists that we had at the last SAT market was Gareth. And so I wanted to quickly give him a shout out and do a little showcase of his stuff. He was, if I'm not mistaken, he was a jeweler for years, and he would actually cut gems, do things like that. And so he has put together just this incredible stock of different pieces that he hand carves himself. So there you see Nat with one of the necklaces that he made. And that's the necklace that she had on. But he does some really, really interesting things. And each one of these has a story and a ton of Easter eggs involved in them. This one I thought was really, really cool. But he just has such a unique way of approaching this. And all of these are the materials that he uses are precious stones. And so it's very unique, and all of these, the wiring here, there's a story behind that. There's a reason why he chooses certain types of stone when he's working with it. So some of the stone here is actually meteorite inside of an egg. There's stories behind every piece that he does, and I think it's just really cool what he's doing. So anyways, if you get the chance, check out artofsatoshi.com. Super cool stuff there. And then I've got to give a shout out to my friend Madex, because he does fantastic stuff too. He's been in the game for some time now. He was an artist before he found Bitcoin. In my opinion, he became an even better artist as he found Bitcoin. And he does just some fantastic stuff. And I actually just picked up my first piece from him. It's actually on the wall behind me, and I'm going to show it off because I'm super happy about it. One sec here. And so he does these hand painted totems. They're on wood, and on the back of them, they've got an open dime to mark kind of the block that it was finished. And yeah, I really quite like this one. There's a story behind the Rubik's Cube here, and the reason why I bought this piece, and it involves Madex himself, was I went to Baltic Honey Badger in Riga in 2019, and Bull Bitcoin hosted a dinner in this crazy underground restaurant that actually used to be used by the politicians of the time to basically discuss what they were going to do with the populace and say like, oh, here's what we want to do. Nobody's really going to have a say in any of this. We get to decide. And it was just a very unique instance to have Bitcoiners infiltrate that space. And kind of, it was like a little bit of a metaphorical middle finger to the top-down pressures of the past as Bitcoin begins to take hold. And so during that dinner, there's a lot of crazy like OG Bitcoiners down there. One of them being Adam Back, and MateX rolled up to dinner, ends up getting sat beside Adam Back, and as only Adam Back would do, he of course had a Rubik's Cube in his pocket. And over dinner, he pulled it out, and then he was teaching MateX how to solve a Rubik's Cube over dinner. And I remember like sitting across the table thinking that this guy was cited in the white paper. And like I was just kind of like getting rolling in my kind of Bitcoin journey. And it was a really wild and surreal moment to me. And that just kind of stuck with me. And myself and MateX shared a room for that trip. And so when I saw this piece, I was like, that has meaning for me. So I need this piece. And so there we go. Now I've got my Rubik's Cube MateX that goes up on my wall forever from here on in. But again, it just kind of speaks to these little things where somebody would just see a Rubik's Cube on a piece of art and say, oh, whatever. No, that holds a very deep meaning, I think, for him. And he's done a number of pieces with Rubik's Cubes involved in them. And I think it all stems from that moment. So I love Bitcoin art when it's done well. And I think there's beginning to be this special crop of Bitcoiners that just have the skill and the drive to create incredible pieces that will that will be sought after, and that will have a place in Bitcoiners' homes for generations to come. So, Asanoha, I'm super glad that you could touch on that aspect of Bitcoin for us.
Thank you. It means a lot being up here, and I just want to encourage everybody to go follow Gareth. I think he's highly underfollowed on Twitter for the art he makes is crazy. The first time I saw it, I was like, that's wild. Nobody else, I haven't seen anybody else doing what he's doing. So, and then MateX, of course, is a total legend. And I guess I assume everybody on here already knows MateX, but if you don't, go follow Spacebowl on Twitter. Bitcoin art's awesome. I like to think of it as, it's all the way from, for the newcomer, there's a lot of people who aren't coders, they aren't developers, they aren't very technical people, orange coin good kind of plebs, but art can speak to, I like to think at least the widest demographic. You can see something and you can see it right there. And Bitcoin's, it's a difficult concept to wrap your head around. It's not very, it's not really a tangible thing. I mean, maybe if you get to go see a mining facility, but how many people, coming into Bitcoin actually get to go see something like that? So, being able to look at a piece of art, you can see it right there in front of you. You could touch it. I mean, potentially, and that's kind of huge, I think, in the grand quest to like conceptualize Bitcoin, which of course I think is impossible to ever do, but that's kind of beautiful too, the pursuit of perfection and knowing you're never gonna achieve it, but you keep trying. And so I think that the Bitcoin art holds an important place. It's a big part of the culture. Culture is often, just built around art in a lot of ways. And so for newcomers, it's really, it's a great way to start conversations. I like to think or hope, I guess, that some of my prints that I've sold are in people's houses and their friends ask them, what's that on your wall there? And it's, an opener for them to start talking about Bitcoin at the dinner party. And then also, I think you guys had mentioned, eventually, after, an epoch or two or three, someone reaches some stacking goal of theirs and they want to celebrate. And, what are you going to spend your precious Bitcoin on? Maybe a trip with your family or something. I don't know. There's lots of things, but a nice piece of art's a cool way to do it. And to remind you, maybe why you get up and get after it in the morning and go get those sats. As you're walking out the door, you look over and see that piece of art on your wall. So yeah, there's a lot. I got a lot more to say about it, but I won't draw on.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's a great topic, and I'm glad it's one that's a lot of people are very fond of. So that's great. Again, if you haven't checked out Asanoha, then please do. And of course, Gareth that we mentioned, Madex and Crypto Graffiti. There's so many good Bitcoin artists there. Keep your eyes peeled, and when you're not stacking sats, stack art. So with that, we're going to do a little rotation. Alex, I know you've been patiently waiting, just brimming with bullishness, and I need to go to you. So I'm going to give you the same question these gentlemen got. Why are you bullish?
I'm bullish because the Overton window has meaningfully shifted. It continues to shift in our favor. And this is, you can see this all over the world. I'm going to talk about the United States a little bit, but and not just the fact that both the former president is campaigning at least with Bitcoiners. I'd be surprised if he has a cold card or a ledger or something. But the vice presidential candidate does own Bitcoin. He owned between $100,000 and $250,000 worth of Bitcoin in 2022, which I think could be as much as 350K of BTC today, depending on how much he owned. And not just because of that, because of things that aren't even specific to Bitcoin. There is power being returned to the people. You see this around the world. You see the sort of mask off moment in whether it's elite media or elite traditional politics, elite education. I really believe that over really even just the last 6 months has been a meaningful movement in the direction and in the favor of more personal liberty. And I think Bitcoin to me is a major tool for liberty. It's probably the most secure value you can possibly own. I mean, I like when people tell me that, well, gold is good. And I'm like, try using gold like over a distance more than 5 feet. It's basically useless. It's also like the value to weight ratio. I'm going to need like 5 backpacks to move my life savings in gold if I'm fortunate enough. Whereas I can take the back of a Madex painting or a seed cipher plate or memorize it, right? So, but there's a bunch of things happening now, and one thing that's really interesting is the interest of the super elite wealth management crowd, the hedge fund guys, the Ray Dalios and Bill Millers. Like, these guys have been trading Bitcoin. I mean, they were trading it with us 2-3 years ago, but they were trading it. They're like, oh, wow, like 41K, like we think it could go to like 52 and we could, make 25% on the trade. The attitude has really shifted now. You've got major sort of people like Ray Dalio and Stan Druckenmiller talking about Bitcoin as a genuine hedge on the fiscal situation in the United States for the first time in my lifetime. I've been listening to Gold Bugs and such. I worked on Ron Paul's presidential campaign in 2008 when I was in college. And he was crazy for talking about the national debt. Now it is obviously well known. Everyone knows it. I don't know if anyone's going to do anything about it. Former President Trump claimed last night at the Republican National Convention that he would do something about the debt. I find that unlikely. He spent a lot of money last time he was in office. But people know that the mask is kind of off on a lot of the frauds that we've been seeing happen. I think people are ready to take matters into their own hands, and I mean that peacefully, by storing your own wealth or building up your own communities, transacting with local artists, eating local food, right? I feel like there's a real renaissance happening that Bitcoin is a major part of, and that makes me extremely bullish.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. There's a deeper understanding of what's going on right now, more so than at any point, definitely in my lifetime, but I think in at least a couple of generations before ours. And what I wonder is, I solidly believe that Bitcoin is the solution. Obviously, that's why I'm here. I wonder if the majority of the population will truly understand why they are acting the way that they are as they move to the solution, or if it will just be the incentives playing out that they just kind of naturally have those behaviors and navigate towards Bitcoin, and don't truly understand the malicious nature of the legacy system. Just that they were getting screwed before and now they're not. Like, do you think that we'll get to a point where like society as a whole will look back and be like, oh my God, we used to trust, a handful of dudes in a closed room to decide how our money would work and how much of it there would be and whether interest rates would go up and down? Or do you think people will just be like, oh yeah, like we use Bitcoin now and we used to use this other like paper stuff and didn't work as well?
I actually definitely think it's the latter, and I wish that weren't true, but I think it is true. I think the vast majority of people today have no idea how any of the major systems that they interact with work, and that's okay. I do think Bitcoin educators like you, Ben, and the Bitcoin movement in general has done a great job bringing in, to me, when I hear the term Bitcoin pleb, one of the things I think is that it's people who might not otherwise care. It's not people that work at banks and know how the flow of monetary policy works. It can be, but it doesn't need to be, right? I think we're adding a lot of new people to that group that will know when that happens. I think most people won't know, and then that will be okay. I think the vast majority of people swipe a card or pay a loan, and if it just costs what it costs, and they try to earn enough of the currency unit to be more than what they owe, and they just live their daily lives. And by the way, a huge portion of people in the United States have no savings at all, so they're either earning less than they owe or they're earning exactly the same amount. I think if it were sats or dollars, they may never really know, and in which case, though, there'll still be a major benefit of a system that is constrained by scarcity, that isn't as manipulatable by unelected technocrats. That I always I work in markets. I have to watch the Fed speak, as they call it, and Jay Powell every time they have an FOMC meeting. I just like chuckle at the kind of ludicrousness of it. It on one hand, it does matter. Should it matter? Probably. It definitely shouldn't matter. It shouldn't really be a thing that 12 people meet in a meeting and decide the cost of money. That's basically what they decide. How much money costs, how much to print or not print, how much to require banks to pay an interest. It's and they're like, well, the unemployment rate, it ticked up 0.1%. That is going in the right direction. Maybe we can start thinking about making money cheaper. And I'm like, it's the shortest term thinking you could possibly imagine. And then they ask the Fed chairman, well, there was a 60 Minutes interview a couple months ago where Jay Powell was asked finally, because frankly, losing credibility by not commenting on the national debt. And he doesn't comment on it because of this idea that the Fed is somehow independent of the national government. Well, ironically, it is independent because it's not part of the government, but that's a whole separate story if you know about the creature from Jekyll Island. But so he's never commented on it. And they finally they pinned him down. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's totally unsustainable. And it's like, but why aren't you telling that to the American people every day? Why are you focused on what the 10 bips or 100 bips change in a arcane metric is month to month as you weigh the economic and monetary lives and futures of millions of people in your hands by turning a tiny dial? That I think people do know is ridiculous. People who it's kind of like the history is decided by the people who show up. I saw Bitcoin Deb in here in the chat. She lives in New Hampshire. She saw a $33 trillion license plate. It's already 34, and I think it's about around the corner to 35. History is decided by the people who show up. Not everybody is going to be able to show up. That's just a fact. There is a distribution of interest, intelligence, time, right? But I do think that even those who don't really know about it don't really have a active role in shaping the future of whatever it is. In the case of more acutely the money that we use. One of the great things about Bitcoin, as with all defenses of personal liberty, is that they will benefit also anyway. The reality is that unelected technocrats shouldn't be deciding every aspect of your life. That's the purpose of the United States government is to protect the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of its citizens. That's why the government was created, right? And so but the bullishness to me, I mean, it's, I saw another, Larry Fink from BlackRock was on CNBC just like 2 days ago, very bullish appearance, but he was kind of a doomer. He said that Bitcoin is an investment that you may use as a hedge, and that may become more required, right? And that's a really negative way. He said it's not an investment for optimists, and that's a very negative way of thinking about a very positive thing, which is the return to personal sovereignty and the ability to keep what you earn and control what you earn. And this is obviously it's important for not being debased and having your money inflated away by elites, but also storing it yourself. To me, this is I think probably personally more important to me than Bitcoin's inflation resistance properties is its self-custody capabilities and uncensorable money. But 6 and 1/2 dozen, both very important, I think. But even people, that's one thing I love, is even people who don't self-custody and choose to use somebody else or a custodian or whatever, they would still benefit from the constraint put on the monetary system by Bitcoin scarcity. And it's not, there isn't a national self-custody bill being approved in Congress at the moment or anything. We're not there yet. But the pieces are starting to slide in our favor pretty significantly. And I think, we just have to keep our foot on the gas.
Yeah, you're right. And again, I like that you outline that even the people that don't understand will still benefit. And even beyond that, I firmly believe that while they won't reap all the benefits that the people that came before did, the very last person on the entire planet to adopt a Bitcoin standard will still be better off than when they weren't on a Bitcoin standard. Because now you're, just the very virtue of how things currently are, you accept a wage at a certain dollar amount per hour of time, and you have an understanding of what that can purchase you at that moment. Well, I mean, inside of a year, that contract that you've signed is effectively moot, because the purchasing power that you had in your head no longer exists. And over time, that just degraded, and it's on the blue collar worker to beg, plead, and negotiate to maintain a standard of living, not to improve your standard of living, just to maintain it. So you've got this like top down power structure where the people on the lowest rungs of the ladder are the most screwed, and they have to fight just to stay where they are. And on a Bitcoin standard, it's completely reversed. You say, this is how much, if you're getting paid in time, you're valuing your time in sats. Those purchasing power, purchasing power of those sats gradually, and let's go to a point where everybody's using Bitcoin, those sats over time will gradually increase in value in purchasing power. And so, and so does human ingenuity and efficiency. So hopefully that stays relatively in lockstep. And so the employer sees that, okay, well, we've had some technology gains, we can make things quicker, you're employed here. And so that kind of keeps up with it. But if it doesn't for any reason, it's now on the employer to then go and negotiate with the employee and say, like, listen, your productivity is lagging with the productivity gains and the purchasing power of the sats that we're giving you. So we're proposing that we cut your pay by this many sats, and you'll just maintain your living standard instead of doing better. And the employer has to then weigh with that with, like, what are the chances this person's going to take a hike and go to another employer? And how much is that going to cost us in sats to replace the person with somebody new and train them? And so just the power dynamic completely shifts. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really unique thing about if we get to that. I think we will get to that place because people won't put up for anything less. But yeah, that'll be.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. For most goods and services that people have to buy in their everyday lives, things like rent, food, gasoline, right, energy. In just the last 4 years, $1,000 of purchasing power in a savings account's worth about $500 or $600. Like, basically, you can't save under this system. And Well, I mean, the average person can't invest. They don't have a broker at Fidelity they can call. Like most people don't, right? So it is the sort of, the working class that is most taken advantage of by inflation. And there is no real, I mean, that's the answer. You got Warren Buffett, he says, well, I have a great inflation hedge, stocks, right? He invests in cash flow generating businesses. They're all going to raise their prices in the case of inflation, and everything will price higher. But we've all seen those charts of like the Dow Jones priced in gold, like it's not up, not really. Like maybe you maintain your purchasing power. But the average person doesn't have a brokerage account. And so, if you had a Bitcoin denominated savings account or economy in general, yeah, you wouldn't be able to be debased, right? I mean, inflation is created in Washington.
Yes, 100%. I want to get takes from Asanoha and TC. So whoever wants to jump in first, feel free.
Yeah, I was going to say, going back to the original bullish point about the Overton window shifting, I think it's really incredibly interesting and synchronistic that we had these ETFs go live at the beginning of this year, and then we just had a halving. And those two things, almost coming from two different directions, have really highlighted the supply of Bitcoin, and more specifically, the scarcity of the supply of Bitcoin and the increasing scarcity. And it's been interesting to watch, just even on like Bitcoin Twitter, you've got a whole new crop of people that are around all the time. A lot of these guys come from traditional finance, and they're coming from that sort of traditional Wall Street world. They are looking at things from that point of view. And yet it's almost like the supply of Bitcoin is the next easy metric for people to focus on. It's like the price is the obvious first one that people focus on. But now I feel like there's a lot of attention on the supply of Bitcoin. I love this because I'm hoping that, maybe another couple cycles, everyone will be staring at the difficulty adjustment with the same intent. It's like this is how the world learns about some of the nature of this incredible technology, this protocol, and really look beyond just the exchange rate to the fiat, and in doing so, start to appreciate what's actually important here. So I really love it. It makes me bullish too.
Asanoha, you go ahead too.
I think I'm bullish as well. I think it's interesting how, I don't want to be kind of morbid, I guess. But regardless of whether everybody self-custodies or there's large swaths of people, on custodial solutions, or there's some sort of, I hate to say it, but CBDC, in certain jurisdictions, even if that stuff is just backed by Bitcoin, it would be such a game changer from what we have now. And now, of course, the vision is, a truly free market, Bitcoinized fully world with everybody self-custodying. But it's just, there's a lot of hope, and just if it could be just even a little bit better than it is right now, would be amazing. I'm younger, and Bitcoin gave me a new lease on life. I don't know if I'll ever be able to own a house where I grew up, or raise my kids in the same zip code that I grew up in. And that's really sad. I don't know if currently, I don't know if I'll be able to ever own a house, as it stands right now in this immediate kind of situation. So, I mean, the chance at, just a normal life for myself and everybody out there, being able to own a roof over my head, hopefully pay it off before I die. And Bitcoin gives me that hope. So, it's a fucking hill worth dying on. And you know what? If it ends up with some parallel milkshake kind of situation, at least there'll be those few, or hopefully many of the remnant who figured out the self-custody and, got in early enough to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the system, because the, microchips are fucking coming. And so, this is it. This is your phone booth out of the Matrix. So.
Dude, I will say that I firmly believe that again, if you follow the playbook and you know, and what I think is comes, I think what you're in store for is you're kind of at the peak of you're at kind of the peak of the fiat bullshit system right now, and you've also, as you said, have one foot in and one foot out. And I'm just going to there we go. And I think because you have one foot in and one foot out, and because you're creating value for other Bitcoiners and you're able to earn in Bitcoin at least a portion of what you're doing, if you're able to spend less than you earn, I think that you're going to see that entire equation flip on you. Like right now, again, this is the common sentiment, and this is why an entire generation, and you know, we'll say probably anything prior to millennials, and some millennials captured in the same thing, saying like, there's no fucking way I'm ever going to own a home. And if the system as it exists right now continues and there was no opt out, you'd be right. You'd be 100% right. Even just looking like my parents were not well off. They were only finally able to afford getting a home, like starting a mortgage, when I was graduating high school. And so like that was like I was on my way to eventually like moving out with friends by then. And so like they didn't even begin to start paying for a new home until I was like 19. And so for them that came much later, but I'm looking at the cost of their home from 20 years ago to now is triple. Mm-hmm. And sure as fuck, wages are not triple, right? And think of the crushing reality that brings on that next generation that comes up 20, you know, over those 20 years to adulthood, saying like, how in the hell am I supposed to even think about getting a home? But I think what we're on the cusp of seeing is the exact opposite. There's this kind of crescendo of unaffordability of stuff, and people sinking their money into anything that can preserve purchasing power. But we're seeing a shift of people just using a different money and realizing I don't need to sink money into something to save me money. I just need to hold the money. And so what happens to housing? Housing goes to the, as Jeff Booth says a lot of the time, it drops to the price of actual utility. And so I think your money, if you're able to spend less than you earn, your money will increase in purchasing power, and the thing you're trying to purchase is going to drop. And contrary to your initial worry of I'm never going to be able to afford a home, I think you will afford a home. And then I think that, you know, if you decide to have a family, if you have kids and they have grandkids, each generation moving forward is going to have an easier and easier time affording all of the necessities of life, and then plenty of extravagant things to enjoy their life even further and explore and build even cooler and greater shit. So I think that we're heading that way, but we're definitely at that crescendo of despair right now, in my opinion.
Amen to that. And I agree with you. It's something's got to give in the near future here. You know, so I'm gonna keep sailing towards that orange glowing light on the horizon.
100%. TC, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, the trends are really clear. We're gonna see more weird clown world stuff, and the purchasing power of the government issued money is going to continue to dissolve. Those trends I don't think are going to go away. And so just even without, you know, major shift in the way the world works, Bitcoin offers you a lot more certainty in regards to your purchasing power in the future. And, you know, the real hopeful and very bullish thing about it, I think everyone who's been in Bitcoin for more than a short period of time, you start to see these changes. The perspective shift and the realities of your purchasing power actually being there for you in the future changes your behavior. It changes your outlook and your perspective, and it causes you to live in, I would argue, demonstrably better ways. And so, you know, as the Overton window shifts and as more people discover what Bitcoin actually is beyond just a price chart, they're going to inevitably have some of that, if not a lot of that, impact them. And so I feel like it's the brightest beacon of hope amidst all this craziness that's going on. I'm here for the long haul. Let's go.
Hell yeah, LFG. Alex, I'll give you the opportunity if you have anything else that you'd like to tag on there on your topic there, then feel free based on what the gent said.
No, I mean, I just agree with it all. I think we're, you know, let's take it back to eCash. In the background of all of this sort of more macro trends in the world, or in Bitcoin ownership adoption, ETFs and institutionalization and all of that stuff, is the cypherpunk movement is still strong and growing as well. So love to see that. I think, to me, it doesn't need to be what everyone does, but it absolutely needs to be what many people do, and that you always can do. So like when it comes to, you know, I talk to people like, you know, I was, take my mom, I was telling her, like, you know, she had Bitcoin on Coinbase for years that I had convinced her to buy. And I was like, not really feeling that confident I could teach her how to use some of the various self-custody methods. And then the BitKey from Cash App came out, which I think is a great device. And it's very easy to use. Maybe the easiest UX for a hardware wallet I've seen. And that's going to keep happening. So I think it's okay for people to get in however they feel comfortable, and then learn, you know, and in the meantime, you know, the people at the core of this movement are developing new ways for either to do more advanced things or to do old things in a simpler, easier way. And it all sort of comes together. And I don't, you know, I don't worry about right now, although it is something that Bitcoiners need to always be ever vigilant about. I don't worry about the takeover of Bitcoin by, you know, the you know, when I talk about these elites that are getting interested in Bitcoin, it doesn't worry me. It makes me very bullish. Bitcoin remains a very strong and I think getting stronger tool for opting out and protecting it yourself. And it's okay if, you know, you think about it, like if you think about hyper Bitcoinization, it's got to be in the dollar is in every app. It's in every account. You can get dollars in your bank, or dollars in your PayPal, or dollars in your Cash App, or dollars in your money market fund, or right. Like, I think we have to be prepared for the idea that winning might not look like everybody using, you know, the seed cipher or the block, you know, something from CoinKite or whatever, but that's okay. I think that's okay. And at the same time, we can keep expanding that world of the real plebs who know how to use that stuff. And I think you're going to find a lot more people in the end learn and know how to use Bitcoin actually, and know how Bitcoin works, than ever understood how the current system works.
I love that. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I think that's a good a note as ever to begin rounding out the show. And so I'm going to start doing that now. I'll put a bow on that final topic. And so, gents, the way that I like to round out shows typically is to just do one last round around the circle here and just get any final thought that you may have based on anything that was said during the show today. And secondly, and more importantly, a recommendation. And the recommendation can take any form that you like. That could be as simple as just a piece of life advice that you wish you had known when you started your Bitcoin journey. It could also be a check out this podcast or video, or you know, something cool that you've seen recently, or try out this app, or try out this device, or you know, whatever it may be. totally up to you, but something that you think people may find useful. And so I'll get started with that, and then you guys can stew for a second while I get mine off my chest. But my vibe today from the show was optimism. The world is just full of so much pessimism right now, and just people, again, based on this, again, kind of stemming from this last topic, or this last little line of conversation. I'm never going to make it. I'm never, like, this thing and this thing and this thing is impossible. And humanity is always finding new ways to innovate and create new things and be more efficient at things. But when your system is inherently designed to siphon away that progress and place it into the hands of an elite few, then of course people are going to feel defeated, because everything should be getting easier and cheaper, and it's just not. It's going the opposite direction. And I think we're about to witness a change of course and a hard turn in the direction of those benefits being filtered out to everybody that partakes in society and contributes in some way to a point where they're able to, on average, spend less than they earn. They will reap the benefits. If you're providing values for others, you are going to fucking kill it in this coming decade and beyond. And so if you can just keep your head down, work hard, and figure out what creates value for others and spend less than you earn and save in a money that nobody can print, you are going to absolutely flourish in the near future. That's what I truly believe, and that's what I love about it, about being in Bitcoin, because it's just the inverse of sentiment of what we've seen this past decade. In terms of recommendations, I'm reading this book right now, and it is blowing my fucking mind. If you get the chance, please pick up a copy of Fiat Food, because my God, the guy who wrote it, Matt Lisiak, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Anyways, he read the Fiat Standard from Saifedean, and then there was a short chapter on Fiat Food and what happened to create the environment of terrible food that you see in the US and North America and other markets. And he was like, wow, that's pretty out to lunch. And he was actually an investigative journalist for 2 decades. And so he started to fact check it. And he was like, oh, actually, Saifedean has vastly understated the corruption that has taken place with the food infrastructure in the US. And it is unreal. Like, I'm rethinking every single thing on my shelf, and I'm before I would generally think, oh, this is unhealthy, I shouldn't have it, and then I'm pretty bad for like my food is my one vice where I will try and make a change, and it's cold turkey or nothing. This book is making me rethink all of those choices out of anger for how much I've been had by these bullshit industries and the incentives and how they've aligned. And so if you do one thing for yourself, read Fiat Food. And if anything, if you want a taste of what's in the book, Preston Pish did an interview with him recently. And I paused that podcast multiple times saying, no fucking way is that a real thing. And I would look it up, and I'm going to give you a taste right now. In the early 20th century, so like in the early 1900s, there was a cult that thought there was going to be that the end of the world was coming, but they gave a specific date. The date came and passed, didn't happen. But the leader of this cult, or one of the higher ups, this woman, she firmly believed that we just didn't see that the apocalypse was upon us, and that we needed to We needed to purify body and mind in order to prepare for the apocalypse and transcending into the next realm. And part of the problem that she saw is that too many men were masturbating. And she saw the cause of that as too many people were eating meat, which gave too much testosterone, which caused more men to want to masturbate. And so she then went about and found somebody in between trying to interject herself with major like health institutions and governments and everything to get people away from meat. She found a gentleman. She said, could you put together a breakfast alternative to meat? Because Americans, by and large, would consume a lot of meat at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Could you put together a breakfast option for food that would be an alternative to eating meat in the mornings? And the gentleman obliged and came up with this new invention. He's like, here we go. This is the replacement. Everybody should have this at breakfast. And through a whole bunch of different connections and interesting things, it became a staple of our breakfast nowadays. The last name of the gentleman that this cultist enlisted to create a breakfast alternative to meat, his last name was Kellogg. Kellogg's cornflakes was the product. So you're replacing eggs and meat and all that stuff with, like all of these refined grains and corn products and everything. And since the government started advising people on diets in and around the 70s, and there's a whole story behind that, look at the obesity rates in the United States. It's like the connections drawn in this. And again, this guy brings the receipts. You need to read this book. My mind is being blown. I'm not even finished yet. I've got about a third of the book.
Ben, you stole my thing. I was literally going to recommend Fiat food. I just passed 10 months on my carnivore diet. I've been on it for 10 months now. And about 3 months ago, I read Fiat Food. I gobbled that book up in 2 days. Yeah. It is a fabulous book. And it is the most amazing rabbit hole to go down. What happened with the food in the last 100 years in the West. And the truth about it is absolutely shocking. It's scandalous. There's fraud, there's lies, and this stuff will hit you hard because, if you remember anything from even just as far back as like the 90s or the 80s, you'll remember some of these events that took place and the guidance that was given to the American people about what was healthy. And it's so upside down. It's so backwards. And now that I've been doing carnivore diet, I've actually tested this myself, and it's unreal what happens when you actually start eating the right things and stop eating the wrong things. Sorry, I just had to pile on because I was just saying yes the whole way along when you were saying that, Ben.
It's unbelievable. And again, I'm trying to tell my wife about it, and like she's on board with like, yeah, food's kind of shit and everything, but I'm telling her these stories and she's like, I feel like this can't possibly be true. And I'm like, no, you need like, you sound like a crackpot being like, the guy who created Kellogg's cornflakes was a religious fundamentalist who
have you seen the Drunk History episode about this? No. There was a show on Comedy Central called Drunk History about a decade ago, and one episode was about the Kellogg brothers, and it's so funny. This drunk woman's basically telling this story, but when you read it in the book, it's amazing. What's really crazy is the whole thing with the grains that really comes from that Seventh-day Adventist kooky point of view and what they were trying to actually stop. But the oils, the vegetable oils, the seed oils, that's a whole nother scandal. And the sugar and the amount of sugar that's put in everything. And by the time you finish this book, you realize that the entire food system is just as corrupt as our monetary system. And a lot of that corruption was facilitated because of fiat money too. So it's an incredible parallel rabbit hole to go down. I'm going to recommend that. That's going to be my closing.
That's insane. I was like, I got to see this drunk history thing. Can I just show this isn't even the drunk history one, but the second search topic is meet the psychopath who invented your breakfast.
Yep. Yep.
It's unreal. So anyways, it's a thing. You guys should probably look into it. That is insane. TC, do you have any other like final thoughts, anything that you wanted to close out with for the
This has been such a fun conversation, and I really appreciate it. I love the topic of the art. I think that the Bitcoin art is something that's really worth people taking a closer look at, and there's just an extraordinary amount of passion and intent and really brilliant work happening there. So I encourage people to check out this art. It's one of the reasons I put a gallery on Time Chain Calendar. If you click the little gallery button or you go to /gallery, I am working on building a gallery of artists. It features Asanoha and a lot of the other people that were mentioned, and I'm going to keep adding more art there. So I encourage people to check that out. And then just, on the higher level, I am more bullish than ever as far as all the other topics we discussed. I feel like we're at a real special moment. I've been around long enough. This is going to be my third bull run, and I know what part of the cycle we're at, and it's exciting just looking over the next 6 to 12 months, knowing what's coming. So let's fucking go.
Hell yeah. I love it. Asanoha, I'm going to toss it down to you. Final thoughts, and if you have a recommendation, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what you're talking about, the food there, and just recommend to everybody listening that the money is only a little part of it. It's a big part, and it's a part that interestingly will help fix the food part and the medicine part and all the other parts. But don't wait on buying organic, non-GMO food strictly for your home, because you're not going to get to enjoy any of the Bitcoin you save, and you're not going to have healthy kids if you're not healthy, and they're not going to get to enjoy the Bitcoin, the sats you save, and get to enjoy this hyper Bitcoinization, beautiful Bitcoin world we're going towards if we keep eating a bunch of junk foods. So I could not be in more agreement with that. And I also wanted to just, mention the medicine, and it kind of goes on the rabbit hole, but to just remind everybody to stay sharp and keep learning and keep deep diving. Recommendations. I want to recommend everybody go to thesimplestbitcoinbook.net and purchase a physical copy of the second edition of the Simplest Bitcoin Book. If you don't feel like spending the sats, at least download a free PDF copy. I also want to recommend everybody check out Bitcoin trading cards, because this is a super awesome project that has major potential to orange pill a lot of people out there. Our goal is to get a large print run of these cards into big box stores. So check out Bitcoin trading cards, and check out the Spirit of Satoshi, the world's first Bitcoin-centric AI. We just launched the first of our collaborative series of the cards with the Spirit of Satoshi team. They are super awesome, all of them over there. Shout out to Alex Svetsky, and you can go and chat with Satoshi AI. So it's another excellent tool in helping those friends and family of yours that you are trying to orange pill. Give them a copy of the Simplest Bitcoin Book, send them a PDF version of it, and shoot them over the Spirit of Satoshi website, and they can ask it questions all day long. I just want to say once again how much I appreciate you letting me up here, and appreciate all of you. It's been awesome chatting. TC, I don't know if I'll see you in Nashville, but if not, I'll see you at the next one. And Alex, it would be great to meet you in person sometime.
Hell yeah, man. I'll echo the Bitcoin trading cards thing. I love those guys. Aladdin is a legend, and I gotta say, he was gracious enough to make a card with my stupid face on it, and and World of Rusty was the guy who designed the art for it, who is awesome. And I've got the foil of my card in like a special little case up on my shelf to the side here. And I used to collect like Marvel cards when I was a kid, and seeing like a cartoon kind of like epic version of myself in like a workshop with a blowtorch was beyond my wildest child dreams. to have that as a trading card. So Bitcoin trading cards, those guys are awesome, and they're such fun and educational collectibles. So check them out. The website is btc-tc.com or BTC trading cards. So btc-tc.com. Alex, I'm going to toss it to you. Final thoughts, recommendations. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me here, Ben. Great to talk with you guys, Asanoha TC. I will be in Nashville next week as well, most of the week. Be spending a lot of time at Bitcoin Park as well. Shout out to Bitcoin Park. They also throw great events there. Yeah, a couple recommendations. I'm just going to throw in. I haven't read Fiat Food, but I literally just bought it. I am a proud continuous owner of a bunch of local beef, and I eat a fair amount. I get a quarter cow about every 9 months. That's actually going faster now because my kids are getting older. They're eating more. So can't, yeah, and I'm big, we're very anti-seed oil in our family, so I know we're going to enjoy this book. So I will check that out. And also check out The Revolution of Money by Sam and Ben Baker. Is one of my favorite, very simple, like, history of money. Why did it go wrong? There's dozens of those types of books. It's a good one, though. Check it out. And also Resistance Money by Craig Wormke, Andrew Bailey, and Bradley Rettler. I think it is a very interesting way to approach introducing people to Bitcoin through a philosophical perspective. If you, I haven't studied philosophy at length since I was in college, but if you think about sort of the fundamental reasons why something may be moral or not moral, or ethical or not ethical, it's worth checking out that book. It's very, very accessible book. All three of these authors are scholars affiliated with the Bitcoin Policy Institute, and really, really enjoyed this book. And I'm going to see these guys in Nashville next week as well. So excellent. Check those out. Both very good for orange pilling normies. This one, Resistance Money, is more about, like, why Bitcoin? Is it a good thing? Should it be part of the world? Revolution of Money is sort of an intro to the history of money. There's many of these. And by the way, you might see that someone really great wrote the foreword to that book. So have to show.
Oh,
I know.
I don't get any money from it, to be clear. It's a favor.
That's awesome. Well, this is great, guys. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was a blast. I want to say cheers to you guys. Also, cheers to the 4,300 people that tuned in over the course of the episode. So cheers to everybody across YouTube, X, Noster, and a few other places. Thank you guys for being a part of the episode, and the people that will be watching and listening to this after it airs live. I very much appreciate all of you and everybody that's been in the chat. Love you guys. Keep coming back. We love the conversation. But gentlemen, I'll just finish off by saying thank you so much for taking the time to get bullish with me on a Friday evening, and you're all welcome back anytime.
Thank you, Ben.
Cheers, guys. Have a good evening. Oh, yeah. Later, guys. And everybody watching, thank you so much for being here. And of course, if you have not already, please do like, hit that subscribe button. And most importantly, if you had fun here, if you enjoyed it, please do share it wherever you may be, whether you're on X, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on if you're on Facebook, even share it there. I'm not really there that much, but that's okay. Share it wherever you may be. It is very, very helpful. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. What a blast. I really enjoyed this conversation. So we'll round it out here. Of course, again, all those good things, like, sub, share. If you want to help the show in another way, you can hit up the sponsors. They are all listed down below. All of our guests are listed in the show notes as well. So if you want to follow them on their socials, go check them out. And the last thing I'll say is, of course, if you have been sorting through the channel, maybe you're playing with some tutorials, you're trying to learn some Bitcoin stuff, then that's fantastic. But if you've hit a snag and you're like, I'm at a brick wall, I don't know what to do next, I need some hand holding, I need somebody to help me through it. Well, I have assembled a team of incredible Bitcoin educators at bitcoinmentor.io. And these people are just amazing. They can just help you through everything. I personally handpicked them, interviewed them, and trained them to be able to train you in basic wallets, key management, hardware, multisig, running a node, lightning and L2s, and plenty of other topics, whatever you may need. So if you're curious, if you're new, if you're trying to learn something, or if you're a Bitcoiner that's been around the block for a while, but you've hit that Bitcoin Luddite phase where you learned your one thing that you know how to do, but then you've stood still and you're wondering if your setup is still good enough because privacy and security is a moving target. If you want to try and figure that out, head over to bitcoinmentor.io. You can book a free 15-minute discovery session to see if we might be able to help you out. And then if you think that's worth your time, then you can book with one of our mentors and perhaps save yourself hours and hours of muddling about trying to figure out your setup and just get direct help there. Anyways, guys, with that, I'm going to round out. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a wonderful evening or day or whatever time it is, wherever you may be. And I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.